years. So it's taken me that long to actually realize that this is so unjust. So it's very embarrassing in a way. So when the Guardian wrote an article about my letter to Biden, the main question she had was, why now? Why did you have this change of heart now after all this time? And I was thinking about it, and I said, well, for starters, 48 years. There's no murder sentence in the country that, the FBI agent who murdered his informant only served 10 years in prison. So, I mean, that was one reason, but the other reason is that history is repeating right now. If you have not understood that kind of COINTELPRO, infiltration, suppression of all kinds of free speech groups, right now it is just back the same way it was in the 60s and 70s during the end of the Vietnam War. And so, to stop this, and the other thing is Leonar Peltier right now, because people have realized the injustice, he's only being held there because the FBI director decided to write the same old letter that he's been writing every time just to get the FBI bonded together. This is a groupthink type thing. If you know the policing world, it's always this idea of good guys versus bad guys. And when you stoke that up, honestly, you get problems. This us versus them attitude. Anyway, okay, this is my letter. Dear President Biden, I am a retired FBI special agent who, over the course of my nearly 24-year career in the FBI, including over 14 years in the Minneapolis division that covers Indian country work in North and South Dakota, became quite familiar with the Leonar Peltier case and also acquainted with some of the prosecutors and agents stationed in the Dakotas who were more directly involved. From my earliest training days at the FBI Academy in Quantico, I, like thousands of other FBI agents, was steeped in the FBI's version of the tragedy that took two young agents' lives and has imprisoned Leonar Peltier for nearly 5 decades. Not surprisingly, the FBI narrative and Department of Justice prosecutorial theory, although changing slightly through the years of appeals, was never free from the emotionalism of the killings, nor its accompanying FBI family bonding. That's a big, that comes from J. Edgar Hoover, by the way, the FBI family. I was a bit surprised, however, to see some of that us versus them law enforcement notion of family still get added to current FBI Director Wray's response to Peltier's latest clemency request, instead of a more professional, just the facts, ma'am, until I remembered that Wray's letter was intended to be internal and not to be made public. In line with the general theory of the adversary system, I'm going to skip this about the adversary system. Anyways, the adversary system is not perfect, obviously. However, since not being at the scene with firsthand knowledge, I think the better part of wisdom for me is to defer passing judgment on the still murky facts. However, what I think becomes most clear is that the long-standing, horribly wrongful, oppressive treatment of Native Americans in the U.S. played a key role in putting both the agents and Peltier in the wrong place at the wrong time. Therefore, the focus of my 2 cents leading to my joining the call for clemency is based on Peltier's inordinately long prison sentence and an ever more compelling need for simple mercy due to his advanced age and deteriorating health. And then, of course, I talked about comparing this to other murder sentences in the country. Retribution seems to have emerged as the primary, if not sole, reason for continuing what looks from the outside to have become an emotion-driven FBI family vendetta. I was taught, however, in law school that retribution, as one of the 5 objectives of the criminal justice system, should no longer be considered primary, but should be balanced with rehabilitation and other more restorative goals. Justice needs to be tempered with mercy. In fact, the good thing about the official Truth and Reconciliation inquiries adopted by South Africa to deal with its horrifically violent past did produce a measure of actual truth and healing, benefiting all parties, including victims and witnesses. Facts that would have remained murky under a true adversary system were finally able to be clarified. For these reasons, I will now join many other truth and justice seekers, along with a growing number who actually, like myself, enjoyed long careers working in the criminal justice system, to say enough is enough. Leonar Peltier should now be allowed to go home. Yeah.